London Marathon Foundation Active Spaces Fund, what you need to know. Let's talk about a fund that a lot of organisations in London should be looking at, but many still miss, the London Marathon Foundation's Active Spaces Fund. Most people recognise the London Marathon as an event, but behind it sits a very serious grant-making foundation that has been funding community projects for decades. Since the early 1980s, the foundation has awarded tens of millions of pounds to projects across London, all focused on one simple mission: helping more people become active through better spaces, places, and facilities. What makes this fund particularly important is that it's designed for organisations working with people who are least likely to be active. That includes children and young people, people from ethnically diverse communities, people living in areas of high deprivation, women and girls, people with disabilities or long-term health conditions, older people, and members of the LGBTQ+ community. So if your organisation works with any of those groups in London, this fund should immediately be on your radar. The Active Spaces Fund exists to improve and activate physical spaces. That could mean building something new, renovating an existing space, or bringing a tired or underused facility back to life so people can actually use it. The foundation is very clear that they are interested in projects that leave a long-term legacy, not short-term activities that disappear once funding ends. In terms of funding levels, most grants fall within a strong mid-range, making this fund especially attractive for organisations planning meaningful but realistic projects. In exceptional cases, larger awards may be considered, but only where there is a very clear case that the project will transform access to physical activity for priority audiences. At that level, partnership funding is essential, and you must be able to show what other funding you already have or plan to secure. This is not a fund where you apply in isolation and hope for the best. They want to see collaboration, commitment, and a solid plan. One thing I want to be very clear about is who can apply. This fund is open to a wide range of not-for-profit organisations. That includes registered charities, community and voluntary organisations, faith centres, schools, sports clubs, local authorities, statutory bodies, and even unincorporated associations. What matters most is not your structure, but whether your project genuinely serves the wider community. However, all funded spaces must be open to everyone. If a facility is restricted to members only, or used privately, it will not be eligible. Accessibility, inclusion, and openness are absolutely central to this fund. The foundation also prioritizes projects in areas with fewer existing facilities or where communities face higher levels of disadvantage. If your organization is deeply rooted in the community it serves, that's a real strength. They value local connection and lived experience far more than glossy language. The types of activities supported are broad. This is not just about traditional sports. They fund projects that encourage movement in all forms, including walking, dancing, gardening, play, and informal physical activity. What matters is that people are moving more and doing so in a way that feels welcoming and sustainable. Funding can cover both capital and revenue costs. Capital funding might include building or renovating facilities or purchasing equipment. Revenue funding can support delivery costs, coaching, staff time, venue hire, or new posts linked directly to the project. Capital costs usually need to be spent within a defined period, while revenue funding can run for longer depending on the project. There are, of course, boundaries. Individuals and profit-making organizations cannot apply, and vehicle purchases are not supported. As with most funders, the project must be realistic, deliverable, and aligned with their mission. The application process itself is two-stage, which is actually a good thing. You start with an expression of interest that can be submitted at any time. If that is successful, you are invited to submit a full application in one of several funding rounds throughout the year. Decisions are relatively timely, which makes this fund particularly useful when planning ahead. One important point to note is that you cannot apply to this fund if you already have a live application or funded project through certain related programs. This is simply to avoid duplication, so it's important to check before applying. The biggest mistake organizations make with this fund is treating it like a generic sports grant. It isn't. This is about spaces, people, and long-term community benefit. If you frame your project around inclusion, accessibility, and lasting impact, you are far more likely to succeed. If you're working in London and thinking about improving a hall, outdoor space, youth facility, or community venue so that more people can be active, this fund deserves serious consideration. If this breakdown has been helpful, my name is Kingsley and I run the Grant Maven. I support UK charities, community groups and faith-based organisations to understand funders, plan strong funding strategies, and avoid common mistakes that lead to rejection. I share practical funding guidance here on YouTube and also through my WhatsApp channel, where I post funding opportunities and insights regularly. If you want more content like this, follow the channel and stay connected.